If you want to walk down the stairs, you can. Yeah. It's alright. You can walk down the stairs. So we're going tight and then to you.
Should be on now.
Yes, obviously just cue us straight away.
Yeah, yeah.
Good afternoon from Spark York. My name's Jamie.
I'm Megan and welcome to our first ever live stream.
We're here to celebrate the inaugural opening of York's very own Mediale. It's an international digital arts festival and it's the first time that it has come to our fantastic city. Before we get on to all of that though, let's have a quick look at Spark, the building we're currently in now.
This is Spark York. It's an event that has been on for all of summer and has been attracting people from all over the country to enjoy food and drinks. It is a host to one of York Mediale's exhibitions.
Local at all. We've got tourists coming in to hear about us. Done quite a bit of work with the concierge and hotels and B&Bs around York to try and get them promoting us. So we definitely do get hit with the tourists. We get an interesting night starting round for the students. So especially York Uni students coming in on the bus back into town have a tendency just to get off around here, just pop up here for one quick round and then head off into the rest of the dark side of town. It's definitely different from having an actual venue in town. The fact that we are outside brings us an entirely other set of challenges and benefits.
University. Hi Steve.
Good afternoon.
So for the people at home, can you tell us more about what the festival's all about?
Well, York Mediale is an international digital arts festival. It's bringing together cutting-edge media arts, performances, installations, events, talks. Some of the biggest artists in the world are coming this weekend, like Isaac Julian. So this week's going to be a really exciting event.
Yeah, and how will this benefit York as a city?
Well, if you think about York, York is the Minster, it's the walls, it's Clifford's Tower, it's old and boring and stodgy, and now it's full of Harry Potter tourism, and so this is about the future.
Yeah.
This is about the future of art, the future of our relationships in the digital world through social media. This is about looking forward instead of York constantly looking backwards.
And so in terms of the university, what have they done to get on board with the Mediale?
Well, York St John are major partners of the Mediale, as we back many community and artistic projects around York, and this is just one of them. So York St John have been hosting a number of artists. This summer we hosted the Future Fires initiative, which was providing support for young creatives, developing their artwork, developing their practice. One of our colleagues from the School of Performance and Media Production is this weekend staging a conference about stories of solitude, about digital overload and being alone. So York St John is really supporting so much that's going on this week.
Great.
Fantastic. Yeah.
It's lovely.
That's fantastic.
You know, I could imagine that with the people like in front of the wall as well. You know, like in front of the wall and then you walking underneath it.
So next up, we're heading to King's Square to look at some 3D printings that are representing the current housing crisis.
We've come down to King's Square in York amongst many people to witness the phenomenal Matthew Pulmer Fernandez 3D sculpture, which has been inspired by the ever-growing housing crisis. The sculpture that is displayed today in King's Square is called Turk and Herms, which reflects one of the most potent issues of the generation, the housing crisis. So what is your opinion on this piece of artwork?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We thought it was made out of coal from further across because we're from Derbyshire and you get a lot of coal sculptures there as well. But yeah, it's good, it's interesting. It does take your eye off as well because of the houses going up.
Turk and Herms is one of many artefacts to be shown during the York Mediale. With atmosphere and lots to be seen, it's definitely not one that should be missed, so make sure you come down before the 6th of October.
Spark York, and now I'm just with the commissioner for Rodriguez Lebron just to talk about how we commission art and what this art space is all about.
Okay, see you later.
Sorry.
Sorry. Okay, so can you tell me how you go about commissioning art like this?
Wait 1 minute, I don't want you to film going into my bag. Hold on a second.
Okay, so we're just going to...
Okay, are you introducing me or how do you...
Yeah, so this is Alice Sharp. Yeah, and we're here to talk about commissioning. So can you tell me about how you go about commissioning art like this?
Well, I'm Alice Sharp. Where should I look on this? At her? Okay, right. Hello, I'm Alice Sharp. I'm the curator and director of Invisible Dust, and we work with artists and scientists creating pieces around climate change and the environment. And for this piece, what we've done is we've worked with a really interesting digital artist, and he's really gone for the theme of climate change, particularly after what happened last summer, which was we had this really hot summer. And particularly in sort of when you're in cities in the summer, it's quite difficult for a lot of people to cope with the heat. I mean, it's slightly easier if you're up north. It's certainly much better where we are now in York, but certainly in London, for example, in the summer, it was absolutely unbearable. And he has this wonderful thing where he makes the sun itself seem quite angry in the piece. I don't know if you've seen it yet. Have you seen it yet? Yeah. So the sun actually itself has this incredible kind of fiery feel about it, which is kind of him saying, actually the sun has two, we all love the sun, we like going on holiday in the sun, and that's another theme that he looks at, tourism, but also that the sun actually is doing a lot of problems we're having as the sun. Of course we are reliant on the sun, but at the same time at the moment we've also got things like rising sea levels and climate change because of what's happening with the sun.
Alright, thank you so much. So now we're going to move on inside with Jamie. He's with the actual artist Rodrigo, and he's going to go introduce his art.
So I'm here with Rodrigo Lebrun, who's the genius that created this piece. So thank you very much for doing this with us.
Pleasure.
So first off, what was your inspiration for the piece? Why did you decide to do it?
Okay, so the whole thing started when Invisible Dust contacted me. So they saw a previous piece of work that was exhibiting in Dublin, and they asked me to come up with a piece that involved climate change and North Lincolnshire region. And then at the back of that, we had some conversations around the subject and how to explore it. That included a trip to Scunthorpe, which then became the focus point for this piece.
Yeah, and what was the main reason for Scunthorpe being the main focus piece of it?
Well, initially because it's in the region and it's a partnership with the Humber Museums. So this piece, after York, is going to be exhibited in the North Lincolnshire Museum, which is based in Scunthorpe. But having said that, I think it's just kind of like a fascinating area to explore and look at how climate change, something that is pervasive and global, affects like communities locally as well.
Excellent. And you mentioned Invisible Dust as well there. So how did they bring the project to life? How did they help you do that?
Okay, so initially setting up the theme, or actually using it as a catalyst for a sort of critical investigation of climate change, then again, that region in England. And of course they were a facilitator. So, and I would argue that the project had sort of like 2 stages. Initially when I was given the brief, and of course coming sort of like with all previous assumptions that I had about the region and Scunthorpe. But then of course they facilitated a trip to Scunthorpe, and I actually had the opportunity to talk to people over there and explore the area properly. And for me that added another layer of richness to the work. You know what I mean? It allowed me to actually understand people's perspective about the place that it's like the root of their identity.
Excellent. And yes, it sounds fantastic. And is there any other plans for any future work, or?
Well, I guess in a way, climate change is such a fertile sort of subject to play with. And I guess bringing in news, advertising, internet culture just feels like a very rich environment to play with. So my idea is to kind of keep on like finding facets, different like explorations. You could argue, again, as I said previously, it is a global problem that could have multiple local sort of like manifestations.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.
If you don't want to come see Rodrigo's piece, get down to Spark York. Next up, Marty took to the streets to find out what you guys had to say about the Mediale.
So I just read the information and saw this, and I thought it was fascinating.
I went to the Army exhibition at the Army Museum, and it was set up like a World War I field hospital, which was really interesting, and it was a very immersive experience.
I think the top bit is beautiful. It really works. I love the movement, and I'm sure you could use. I don't know if you read more about it, you could use some kind of like perspective, like story narrative behind it. I don't like a bit of the
brings all the tourists in, and it's got a bit of everything for everyone. I've been to a couple of the expeditions, including the Army Museum, and that was a really, really good expedition.
The 3D printing is like a totally different way to take it. And as I say, I've been to an exhibition very recently, but that's the biggest one I've actually ever seen.
It was really quite cool actually. It's definitely worth going down to if you've got a spare 5 minutes. It's just in the middle of town, so it's definitely worth having a look.
I think I would have liked it more if it had been on something like or a polished ball.
This is an amazing opportunity for York to really establish itself as a creative, high-tech centre for the digital media arts. It's long been known as a tourist location, but this is the kind of thing that's really going to put, I think, the city on the map. And it's the kind of thing that will get people living, working and really thriving in this beautiful medieval city, but giving it a nice cutting modern edge to it.
Really excited about the Mediale and really looking forward to it.
Are you enjoying the Mediale, Jamie?
Yeah, everything I've seen so far, it's a fantastic piece of
it does seem really good,
yeah.
Really modern,
and,
really fresh.
So speaking of art, we sent Kate and Sophie down to York Art Gallery to have a look at another piece, this one about planet Earth.
Yeah, my name is Mike Stubbs and I'm the curator of Strata Rock Dust Stars, this exhibition opening today. Well, what we've got here is a brand new exhibition bringing together a whole range of artists inspired by exploration. I don't know if you know this, but William Smith, who invented that map over there, which is the first map of delineating strata by mineral formation of Britain. It's the first map in the world to actually invent the natural science of geology.
My name is Isaac Julian, and I'm showing Stones Against Diamonds.
And what was your inspiration behind the piece?
Well, I think my inspiration behind the piece begins with my interest actually in Iceland. It's a kind of volcanic island, and as you know, it's an island which, because of its special kind of location, it has a kind of live volcano, and it's also one of the spaces where we can see climate change most visibly.
My name's Vanessa Myrie, and I'm Isaac Julian's muse. I've been in several of his pieces of artwork, so he's done lots of installations in which I feature, and we've been working together since 2002. So it's wonderful to come to York. It's my first time in York, and it's great to be part of the Mediale.
So, I mean, the art gallery looks fantastic at the minute. You know, it's another fascinating piece, all about climate change, all about all things Mother Nature. Next up, we've got a piece a little bit more of a depressing tone, but still fascinating nonetheless, talking about how, despite the fact we're all better connected than ever before, we still feel lonely.
The York Mediale began today, and we spoke to Dr. Irani, who will be hosting a talk on solitude in the technological era and what we can do to combat being alone in this day and age.
So I am the coordinator of a conference which is called Stories of Solitude, Performance Technology and Digital Overload. And we will be looking at the role of solitude in contemporary society, but also more specific case studies in art and performance. So I have invited a number of different experts who are either artists, curators, or experts from philosophy, psychology, gaming and theatre. And we try to share stories about what solitude means in all these different disciplines, and how sometimes solitude is identified with loneliness, and how sometimes solitude is considered as a sort of anomaly, and to what extent it can be problematic, and to what extent it's something that actually is quite refreshing. It helps you to reflect on certain things in your life.
I'm here with one of our reporters, Sophie, who's been tasked to find out how York is making arts accessible for everyone. So, hi, Sophie.
Hi.
So, yeah, so I think the first question is what is York Mediale doing to make sure that everyone can enjoy these arts?
So York Mediale and Accessible Arts have teamed up and put together some fully accessible workshops for people in York who have disabilities and who don't have disabilities. So therefore they're really giving everyone an opportunity to get involved in the arts and express their creativity.
That's fantastic. And what do these workshops sort of entail? What are they doing?
So one of the workshops they've got going on allows you to make your own gadget. So they have the expert techies and kurdies there waiting to sort of help you make a gadget all in one day. So that's on the 6th of October, 10 till 4. Which sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah, it sounds good, Daphne. I might go. So yes, it really does seem like York are trying to make sure that everyone can enjoy.
Yeah,
arts,
definitely. Yeah. I feel like York's quite an inclusive city. I feel like they want to get everyone involved and make everyone have a good time.
Yeah, fantastic. So yes, as you can see, our beautiful city is doing everything it can to make sure that everyone enjoys the Mediale. Next up, we've got Maddie and Neve, who went down to experience what it's like to be an injured World War I soldier.
The York Army Museum, located opposite Clifford's Tower, is playing host to an installation of the York Mediale Arts Festival. The Charlie Ward exhibit, which is open to the public from the 25th of September to the 4th of October, is the immersive tale of a wartime hospital.
What we've created is like a reconstruction of a First World War hospital ward. And we're trying to give the audience the subjective experience of what it's like to be a wounded soldier during the First World War. The piece was inspired by us learning that during the First World War, wounded soldiers were kept entertained in the hospital wards by having screenings of Charlie Chaplin films, and the hospital staff, the nurses and the doctors, would wheel out these film projectors and project onto the ceiling of the hospital films of Charlie Chaplin to keep the troops' spirits up and the morale good. So we were really excited by that idea and thought this would be a really good way of entertaining an audience, but also making an audience feel and understand what that might have been like. And so we thought what we could do is try to put the audience, as it were, in the shoes of a wounded soldier who's slipping between consciousness and unconsciousness while watching this film. So you have this experience of watching a film and then slipping into total darkness and having these fragmented memories.
Wow, that was quite unsettling. I think it's really cool that we can experience art rather than just watch it.
Yeah, I mean personally I don't think it's my idea of having a fun time, but whatever floats your boat. It's still fantastic though. I think that brings us to the end really. That's about all we've got time for.
Yeah. All right. Well, goodbye, and we hope that you actually come to visit the Mediale Festival this week.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. Some fantastic pieces on show. So, it's well worth the time. Just get out into the city and come and see what these brilliant artists have put on offer. So it's bye from me.
And bye from me. Bye.
Bye.
Where is it?